represent. Go, rest in peace.
Wait, so hold on, what were you saying? Hi, I'm Aaron Cohen. This is Scissor Me Now, and I'm with Laycee Lynn.
Hi.
What up, dude?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Sure.
Super nervous, but I'm excited.
Alright, so the first thing, so I was talking about how I couldn't sleep last night.
Right.
And one of the topics I didn't expect to talk about at all today, but because I couldn't sleep, was this. I was thinking, the beauty industry has to be like one of the biggest industries like ever that we currently have. Like if you drive around on the streets, there's some form of it, whether it be nails, whether it be massage, skin, sauna, hair salon, mega salon.
Right.
You're in the mall. It's everywhere, right? And then it's not just like you people I think recognize on a level too of like, oh, there's supercuts, but now they realize, oh, there's even sports clips. There's, you know what I mean, within their own like genres, they realize that there's multiple things. So the awareness of the beauty industry, it's definitely there, but the crazy thing is like, this is one of the most private industries that I can think of.
Right.
It's not, it's different when you go to like a restaurant, right? And you know what's happening. You know that like you're sitting down, most likely there's a bunch of Mexicans cooking for you. And you know what I mean, there's your server, your host, your server, so on and so forth. But you understand the operation of what's happening. What's very interesting in the beauty salon, in the beauty world, is like when you step into it, you have zero idea what's happening. So it's different. So in other words, like, I go into a lot of restaurants where I'm like, I definitely don't trust the people, you know what I mean, that are like doing like anything here. I'm insanely picky.
Unless it's a taco truck, then you can trust every one of those.
Right? Like I was talking with Adrian about this the other day. How weird is it that we have bikini coffee up here? I don't know why that's a phenomenon.
We're the only state that really has coffee stands.
We're the only state that does it, right? And it's like, there's something, I think the Pacific Northwest is a weird place. It's like we have the bikini coffee stands, Portland has more strip clubs than anywhere else, but at the same time, it gets artisanal. Now you have more microbreweries than anywhere else, and then you have more like coffee places than anything else, so I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, you have a very like eclectic group of people.
Super eclectic.
And that is a reflection of like my clientele base too, is
eclectic people.
Every type of person.
Okay, so that's something I definitely want to talk to you about, but just to sort of wrap things up, this is what's interesting about it, is like I realized how private it was, and then you start to think of, okay, these are old school names, but there's Martha Stewart's, you know, Betty Crocker's, but like more like now what everyone, Rachel Ray's, everyone knows Gordon Ramsay, like that type of thing. And it's like, cooking used to kind of be like a shitty medium, but it used to be almost like, you know, chefs weren't glamorous people. And now it's like you hear all of these kids being like, I want to be a chef, right? Because they have these super glamorous lives and it makes a ton of money. Remember how shitty the Food Network was 15 years ago?
Yeah, you would watch shows and it would be...
It was like 50% infomercials.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's hardly any commercials, you know, and they have the Holiday Baking Championship.
Slap Shop.
Yeah. And then the Top Chef Kids and stuff like that.
That's so brutal.
Every industry is really growing to try to fit every type of person, and the beauty industry really nails that on the head, but is also still very private, like you were saying.
Right, so the thing is like, companies like, you know, like Redken, Goldwell, KMS, or what's another one? L'Oreal, they all could tomorrow just be like, hey, this is the new face of our company, right?
Right.
And there's enough money behind it where they could essentially just blow that person up, and people would be like, oh, so this is like the rock star of that industry, right?
Right.
And it's happened on several times. Like, I think, okay, let me ask you, since you're a hairstylist, what do you think is a household name that people know in beauty?
Guy Tang.
How insane is that, right?
Because of rainbow hair. Because of the things that are almost unrealistic looking on hair. The fact that you can make something look pixelized, you can paint a picture, you can color melt, you can heat changing color on, you know, anyone, all those things, people, they want it, and they want it right now because it's new, and so they will search artists that go for it, and that is somebody, you know, like Guy Tang. Guy Tang's very popular.
Among all hairstylists and people in industry, we know Guy Tang. But let's go a layer like further than Guy Tang. Let's just say all general people, all right? So in other words, everyone knows what a Honda is.
Right.
Everyone knows what a Toyota is.
Right.
What's one industry person that everyone knows?
I can name an industry person that's local but's known internationally. Gene Juarez.
Sure, but that's not a thing that could just like outside the Pacific Northwest. If I went to Kansas City and said, wanted some random.
Paul Mitchell would be one. That's a name.
But what I'm saying is that like, it's still not like common. You know what I mean? It's like they could make. In other words, more people honestly know about Pantene Pro V and
because it's cheap.
Yeah, and Head and Shoulders than they would ever know about Paul Mitchell or like.
Well, I think that part of that is changing too because more people are spending more time in the beauty industry or caring about their looks. You have microblading now. You have you know, dermaplaning is really a huge thing in skincare right now, and then you have all this crazy hair stuff.
Well, I think with like, you know, a lot of the social media stuff, people are starting to figure out interesting things like on their own. For example, like Koreans are the best at skincare, right? So for people that are obsessed with skin, well, you know, once you get obsessed with anything, you look deep into it, right?
Right.
And then the Koreans, they're obsessed with skin, right? They're obsessed with plastic surgery, which is why they're so advanced in it. And that's why every Korean, except me, has has plastic surgery.
Right.
And so the whole point I'm getting at is like, the beauty industry could choose on its own will to not be this private industry. But why do you think its motivation is to be private?
Because it works.
Do you think it's because like it collectively makes more money the way it is operating right now? And if it went public, it's something that just like, how would it fuck up everything if it was public?
Well, I think it would be hard to do something like that and make it super public because every hairdresser is different, and there's every different kind of avenue to go down in this industry too. So to make somebody public or to make the industry public, it would be like night and day difference. So I think that you wouldn't see as much of that like wow and that creativeness and stuff, because there's something special about that. Like, holy crap, I see this pixelized hair, I want that. And then you instantly go start searching those people for it, and if they were already blasted in your face all the time, you wouldn't think it was that cool.
So, you know how on TV there's a lot of stuff that people can just I'm looking at the Food Magazine right now. Right, you know how people can like binge watch Gordon Ramsay YouTube videos, like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying just like food people, I'm saying everyone could binge watch him talk for like 24 hours of him just being like superly over energetic or whatever, but his medium is food, right? So in other words, I doubt that even someone like him, if he had the hair cutting and technical skills, could be on TV for like, you know what I mean, like an hour, 2 hour long segment and make hair is entertaining. And that's what I think is sort of like the limit threshold of it, is like there are people that when they look at hair stuff, it's more of a photo thing. You know what I mean? Than it is sort of
visual.
Visual thing than it is like a video medium.
Right.
So I guess like the one thing I wonder about is like what is going to happen to the future of hair in terms of like, is it going to get more public or is it just going to get more private? Because I know what's happening on the men's side really well. Men's haircutting, like men used to be shitty clients, right? Now like I'm getting into a lot of arguments with people where they're like, hey, men might be better clients than women now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I said that kind of cautiously.
Yeah.
But no, like a lot of people straight up agree.
Well, I have to say that I like love all my clients. Like all my clients are really super dedicated. I've been doing this a long time, but I would say my male clientele, women will follow you because they want that color and they feel that need. Men want to go somewhere, know that they don't have to explain themselves, know that they can get a quality haircut.
That's their number one motivation.
Yeah, that they want consistency because they're busy. And my male clientele, they come in here and I try to not be that maintenance hairdresser that does the same haircut every single time, but I have a lot of business guys that come in every 3-4 weeks and they have an image to withhold and maintain, and they buy product and they come in and they bring their kids or their sons come in every 4 weeks.
They're quicker to do.
Yeah, 30 minutes.
And they're inquisitive.
Right.
Yeah, and they actually like if there's a new product and like, you know what I mean, it helps you actually look better, they'll go for it.
Well, yeah, and male clientele will say, hey, what do you think? I think I want to kind of leave it a little longer. They're more open to like, hey, what do you think about this? Or do you want to change versus like a woman, I want to trim, but I don't want to take any length off. But is that the same as a haircut? Like women ask too many questions that make you go crazy, and questions that you already have the answer to because they've been doing this a long time. Whereas in men, you can have kind of that free conversation in a sense that you can just talk to. My male clientele, we talk about everything. We talk about sports, we talk about hiking and cars, but we equally talk about what's going on in my life. When I was getting married, my male clientele were the ones that were really like, congratulations, and they were really more emotionally invested.
Really?
A little bit, yeah, because they see you so often and they see you change, whereas in women they only see you 3-4 times a year, so when you change, the change is substantial. So you build a better relationship, I think, with some male clientele, business wise, and I just try to get clients that are everyday people and that are just like me, like I told you, I'm an everyday girl that works in a box, I enjoy working 12 or 14 hour days, 5 days a week, and
You're Korean. If you enjoy that, you're Korean.
Maybe. I should take a DNA test.
Here's the thing. If you didn't, so how many hours do you think you pull, how many hours do you think you pull a week?
Well, it depends. Now we're in the busy time, we're in the middle of the holidays. Thanksgiving was last week, Christmas is in 4.
You have like no issue doing 12 to 14 hours, right?
Absolutely.
But here's the thing.
I would do it every day.
If you got sick and you weren't able to work and you knew you were missing all those hours, I already know, you're silent. You would feel like a piece of shit, right?
I don't think, actually I've been doing this 10 years almost, and I worked for a salon for a long time. I called out sick 3 times in 6 years. And then at my old studio that I just moved from, I didn't miss 1 day.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
In 3 years.
So where did you go to school?
I went to school at Junior West.
Okay, so, oh my god, you started off with those crazy shears. Yeah, those really fit, gnarly ones.
I just cut with them yesterday, actually.
Wow, okay, so from Jean Juarez, where did you go to, did you work in a salon afterwards?
Yeah, I can kind of tell you how I got into the
what was your
beauty
progression
industry.
with hair?
Well, when I was 18 years old, I grew up kind of a rough life. I didn't really have any rules, so I got to do whatever I wanted, and I worked all the time.
Sure.
And I had a car, and I had freedom, and friends. So I partied hard. And then it got to like the Snohomish area.
Snohomish?
Yeah, where nobody knows that we exist.
Like 6 packs of Ice House.
Yeah. So when I was 18 years old, I went to treatment because I had a drug problem, and I woke up one day and realized, like, I'm gonna die. This is gonna kill me, and I'm worth more than this. And in a selfish way, it was like, I got more of this world to mess up and to see and to everything. I can't do this. I was dating somebody that was 4, 5, 6 years older than me for years. I was a teenager when I started dating this guy that was 20, and just got into some really bad stuff. And I just had it in me always that wasn't who I was. I just wanted to have a good time. I just don't know my limit. So I went and got help, and then was sober for, well, I've been sober ever since, but I 7 months after, so right before Christmas, I went and hung out with my old friends one time.
Dude, how was that?
I was scared, but it was
life-changing. Did you feel an insane amount of anxiety going into it?
No.
No?
I felt comfortable, which was weird.
Whoa.
So I went and hung out with my friends. I had 2 lemon drop drinks because it was my friend's birthday.
Right.
And I got in the car and I took my friend Jack home. And there was a car accident and I was involved. And I was 18 years old, blew .06.
Yeah.
So I got a DUI and they took me to jail.
Whoa, like no mercy.
No. You blew double the legal limit for being 18 in Washington State.
Oh
So not only did I have a totaled car, my passenger was injured, I had a fractured hip, and I was going to jail.
Oh, it was like a serious car accident.
Very.
Holy shit.
Yeah, my engine hit the ground.
So that was your rock bottom?
Not even.
Not even?
Not even.
Oh my god, so where does it go?
My rock bottom was when I actually went to treatment. I simply made a mistake. That's all. I went and hung out with my friends and that was my mistake.
Whoa.
The car accident, at the end of the day, wasn't my fault when we went to civil court. It was the other person's fault.
Right.
But because I was doing something criminally wrong, the whole thing was my fault.
Right, and it all fell apart.
Right. So
Were you left, like, to be in jail for, like...
I got out that night.
You got out that night?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom came and picked me up, screaming and yelling and cursing, and I realized then, like, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad kid. I made a mistake. I trusted that I could go hang out with my friends, but I wasn't intoxicated. I didn't do drugs. I simply had 2 drinks and got behind the car and somebody got me.
Whoa.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went to court the next month and saw a judge that was very familiar with me and said, hello, Laycee, you're back again. And I knew then, like, I had been away for a long time. I'd gone through drug court and stuff like that and treatment and had gotten in so much trouble that they knew me by name and had been away for a long time and then came back ashamed and kind of was like, I'm not gonna lie about this. I did make a mistake and I'm willing to take responsibility for it and I need to turn my life around. And like, that's why I did that last year. And I don't have excuses. What do I need to do? And right after that had happened, I had contacted an attorney and we set another court date and he just told me, get your DUI victims panel done, do a drug and alcohol assessment, do some UAs once a week, go pay for them, you know, and figure out what you want to do. And so within 30 days when I went to court, I was like, I want to go to beauty school.
Wow.
I want to go to beauty school. Yeah, within a couple months. This happened in December and I enrolled in March or April, and then by May I had started. So I already knew that I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Wow, we both had a really fast progression into the beauty industry.
Right. I grew up in it, so I
Oh,
thought,
that's right, you have, yeah.
Yeah, both my grandparents were in the industry. My grandma was very involved in creating and running and orchestrating in spa, which is very well known all over. That's skincare, yeah. And she was an educator, and she was also a hairstylist, and she did hair competitions, and they used to win trophies, and she's really amazing. And then my grandpa was vice president of education for Gene Juarez.
Oh, for real? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they were both very involved.
Yes, and my grandpa was very involved with beauty schools down in Texas, living down there, and in education. They've been involved for 50 years. So I've been in this industry my whole life. So part of me kind of was like, oh, hair looks easy.
So what was school like then? Was it even that intimidating?
Not easy. Not easy at all. Like,
So,
I went in there because I thought, this is going to be easy. I'm in this industry. This is probably nothing. This is going to be fun. My world was turned upside down because it's hard. It's hard work. I went to school for 11 hours a day. I worked 2 jobs. I managed a Subway and I worked at Gene Juarez in their spa to get my foot in the industry and stuff like that. And I was pulling 12, 14, 15-hour days, 2 jobs, living I moved in with my grandma to really focus on getting my life together, getting away from everybody, and that's all I did for a year, is focused on school. And I graduated first in my class 6 weeks early. I was a student ambassador. I just went into beauty school and I killed it. And I went to my grandpa's school, and we didn't tell anybody that I was his granddaughter, and until my day of my graduation, when they announced that I graduated, my grandpa came around the corner and he was in tears, and everybody was like, wait, that's her? But we did that for a reason. Make a name for yourself, work for yourself. Do not ride on the coattails of someone else. Just because he's my grandfather doesn't mean that I need special treatment. So I really made my way there, and then I got placed in a salon almost right away because of being a part of the externship program, and I went and worked in a salon for 80 hours for my school.
Was this down in Seattle, or were you more up towards north?
I went to Junior Res in Northgate, and then I externed at the Split End in Mukilteo.
I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, the company has been around for a very long time. So I went to a job fair. I searched salons kind of in the area that I wanted to work in. Where do I really want to be? And I did not want to be in Snohomish or Lake Stevens or I wanted all different, but I didn't want downtown. Does that make sense? Because I knew I couldn't keep up with high fashion. I'm just not that type of person.
Right. Okay. So I'm all processing this right now. So you said basically this happened to you 10 years ago, essentially. Right. And so looking
2007.
Because I know your attitude now, your persona, and who you are.
Different.
10 years ago, when you made that shift mentally of I gotta get it together. The person I'm talking to now, did you have that same type of proactive attitude as soon as you decided to make that change?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I still, even in my darkest days, I still worked.
So you're always working?
Yeah, I worked 2 jobs, always. And if you ask anybody, they'll be like, what's one thing Laycee does? Work all the time. And that's all I did for years. So even when I had a problem growing up, I funded my problem. I was functioning, and I knew that was dangerous because I went to school, I got good grades, I worked, I lived on my own, I paid my own bills, I paid for my own car. What are you gonna say, But that's a dangerous mix to continue to go at a young age. I knew that I would not be here today if I stayed on that track, and I think that's why I woke up one day was like, this is not for me. It was like a self-realization. Wow. And some people are not that lucky. People go through that because of trauma in their life, and I would definitely say when I was younger, I was definitely trying to mask other things, in my childhood being a ping pong ball between a custody battle between my parents and stuff in different states and shipped back and forth, and I didn't have rules and I didn't have control of anything, and that's the only thing I could do is have control over me and then what I wanted to do, and that's essentially probably why I got really lucky.
You know what's funny is as a couple rites of passages in life, they're completely different, but one of the first ones is being able to change the color of your hair. I think that's why so many kids do it when they're young, is because they're like, hey, I have control over my hair, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Mm-hmm. And then the next step, which is pretty dramatic, is you can't control the kid if they're going to do drugs or if they're going to drink. At a point, yeah. At a point. So it's these two things that you can't control. It's so I grew up in kind of a almost similar situation where it was weird for me because when I was 13 years old, this was right before a soccer game. My dad came up to me and he was his first words were, Aaron, your mom doesn't love me anymore. I forget the rest of the conversation from that because I didn't know what that meant. Right. Also, I'm about to play a soccer game. I don't know what that means.
Couldn't wait for home.
Right, and then eventually, over the years, because I always knew that my family was a little bit troubled, but we were still a family. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is typical in Korean families. We're loud. We all yell at each other. So it's normal, right? Mm-hmm. It's scary, but it's normal. But I didn't know what that was leading to in terms of separation and all that sort of thing. And to this day, I'm still not really sure how the divorce affected me. I don't understand it. But what I do sort of understand is that when the divorce did happen to me, my parents gave me an ultimatum. They're like, if we stay together, you can go to whatever college you want. And I got accepted to pretty much like all the colleges I wanted to go to. And they're like, but if we don't stay together, then you have to stay in state. And I did not want to go to UW. And, because this is the first day of sunlight I've seen since I've been here.
Actually, I put my sunglasses on coming here today, and it didn't take me an hour to get here from my house. So I was like, today's a good day.
Right? And so that's like, okay, part of the reason I can't handle the Pacific Northwest is like the weather actually really messes me up. And so I remember just finding out that I had to go to UW, and I was so bummed.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't want to go through with it. And I think that's exactly like why, like, when you talk about having like any sort of like control in your life, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's why, like, I pretty much, it was a factor of two things. One, I didn't want to go to another place and remake friends all over again.
That's daunting. That's hard.
Super daunting, especially when you're a kid and everyone judges you. I talk about this a lot.
Bullying is a huge thing right now. I see it all
It's
the
crazy,
time.
and I think it's getting worse for kids now than it was worse for kids like growing up. But I still think it's an underlying thing for everyone, where your first currency in life, unless you're like an insane athlete or gymnast or whatever you are, like you have some special talent or power, your first currency is the way you look, right? And it's
Right.
so encouraged in our society, like when you go shopping, the way your parents dress you, you know what I mean, like how to like hold and like act and behave yourself. Yeah, looks
All
are
behavior learned.
they're a really important thing, and I can't even imagine how intense it must be for girls.
It's hard.
It's a whole different playing field, right?
Social media, and I would say the beauty industry has a big part to play in that.
It's a huge part
Huge
of playing.
part to play in that, and maybe it would not be a good thing, like we were talking about, to go public, because look at what it's done now that it's been privatized.
Well,
you know.
here's the thing is, like, I think there are parts of it that bleed out into the public, and I think it's like now that kids have phones and they can hop on Instagram and that type of thing, they can see exactly who they want to. We all had our idols growing up, right?
Oh, they can create an image.
Right.
And most of the time, they're creating an image for themselves off of images that are photoshopped, that are not realistic. So they are already creating unrealistic.
I mean, who's your idol growing up? Like the first girl that I ever saw like on TV that I was like, oh shit, and had like an instant crush on, I think is pretty much like 50% of everyone, Jennifer Aniston.
She's beautiful.
Yeah,
She
I
really
remember
is
like
gorgeous.
just being like 11 and just being like, wow, she's like, this was Friends. I was just like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful, and half the world still feels that way.
Right. I don't know. I don't know if I really idolized. When I grew up, I wasn't involved in. I played soccer for years, and then played internationally one year, and I did dance for years. And by the time I got to a teenager, I was so involved with everything else. Social media was not something that was on my super radar. Like, I had a MySpace page, and I had my top 8, and that's how you knew like how cool you and your friends were, and you could do your profile however you wanted. That's when it really started. And Facebook, I would say I've only had my Facebook page for 8 or 9 years, maybe. Like, even when I went to beauty school is probably when I graduated beauty school is when I first started.
Did you have a college account? Or did you just use a normal email?
I just used a normal email.
Do you remember that though? Like, you had to have like a college email, like at the very, very beginning to get access to it.
Yep.
That was so strange.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think kids.
Let me ask you this: Are you right when you kick? Do you kick right or do you kick left?
Right.
Okay. Were you a right forward when you played soccer?
Right wing.
Right wing? Yeah, totally. I can totally see you playing that position.
Yeah.
Do you score a lot?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I can totally see that too.
I did. I liked it. And the throws. I used to be able to really just like huck it towards the goal, so that's why I would be good in wing.
Did you ever
Because I danced, so.
I don't know if this is a legal move in soccer. Like, if you are on the sideline and you just have an insane throw, could you throw it into the goal and it counts?
I don't think so.
Or does it have to touch someone's foot?
I think it has
first?
to touch somebody's foot.
Oh, okay, because that would be just...
I would be really sad if a goalie missed that. That's not traveling at a high rate of speed.
No, that would be really depressing.
But you know, I gave up. I gave up dance. I gave up soccer. I gave up a lot.
Wow, so your parents tried to get you really involved in a lot of things.
Well, I just wanted to. Like, I wanted to play soccer. I wanted to do dance and stuff, so I did. And I was not shy about entering talent shows and...
So you would sign up for them yourself?
Yeah, I did everything myself. I always have. Just me. Like, I just truck my own little life train. Now my life train has
Where does
a partner.
where does your life force come from? Like, how are you so proactive?
Well, you know, I think in life you can really either choose to sit and wish and wonder and like, oh, I want this and I want that, or you can really go after it. I would say once I kind of got my life together, got into the salon, or actually really when I was in beauty schools, really when I was trying to like, who do I want to be? Because I have this chance to like clean slate.
Right.
I get to meet all these people. But then like you got like your pitchforks and your armor because you're going into a class full of 25 girls that's in the beauty industry. Like, I knew what I was getting myself into.
10 years ago, what were those girls like?
They were amazing. I still talk to some of them.
Really?
And I still see some of them, and even girls that I worked with at the Split End in the different locations. Once you're in the industry and you stay in a location, I was at the Split End for 6 years, and I really had a great experience there. You know,
Did you like salon culture?
No.
Okay.
No, that's why I'm in my own studio, really. Salon culture is very hard. Like I was just saying, pitchforks and armor going into beauty school because I knew you're going into a classroom full of girls and guys. Everybody's there to learn, and but creative minds, you know, creative minds go here and there and everywhere sometimes, and that festers drama too, because hairdressers are very bold people sometimes. They're very opinionated, they're very creative, you put 300 of them in a school together, you're bound to have problems when 90% of them are female. So I knew going into there, one, you either got to make good friends and really get an opportunity, or this is really going to be a struggle, like socially for you. What can you do? And I was always on the more on the defense, more bold personality. Like, I don't care what you have to say, I don't care what you want, I'm going to be here, I'm going to kill it. But when I was in beauty school, I softened for a year. Like, I really walked in there and was really open-minded and was really like, hi, like, I don't know anyone here, and started to make friends, and you're with those people 33 hours a week for a year.
If you had to give advice for someone going into beauty school, you know, for the first time, and they're getting into this, would you say that, like, in the beginning, like, is it more important to try to make a few friends, or to just be, like, you know what I mean, like, trailblazing on your own path?
Depends, because when I was in beauty school, I really loved, like, opening up and, like, every type. I had men and women and older women and younger women and people that were moms doing this, and me, I was 18, 19 years old doing this, you know.
So there's like moms in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course.
And then, you know, men that want to do color work, or you just have every type of person. And again, that's really kind of when it opened up my eyes to every type of person, and I started getting to know those people, and I'm always been really social and stuff, so I instantly, walking in there, started making a lot of friends. The whole class together was really kind of tight-knit. There was never anybody that didn't like anybody else. Everybody was there to grow and learn, and that kind of environment, in a sense, like, I fixated on that. Like, I couldn't wait to go back to school. You know, the first day of beauty school, you get your kit, and then the second day you do 8 haircuts. Get ready, guys. Day 2, 8 haircuts today. The first day you're doing shampoos and blowouts on each other, and you're learning how to hold all these tools at one time. They throw you into it. And so I instantly was thrown into something that kept me really busy, and then a bunch of new people. So I loved it. Like, I was super open-minded, whereas before I would really only keep my friends, and I would be more closed off. So, and then I became to really love it. My very first day of technical, my grandparents remind me every day. I
Sure.
come home and I broke down, like, mental breakdown. I'll never understand color. I'll never get it. I don't understand the point system. I'm gonna fail. And my grandma goes, been in school for 6 weeks, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know? And then now I look back on that, that's what I do the most. Color. Rainbow color. I do a lot of vivids, a lot of chemical work, a lot of balayage, a lot of all that kind of stuff. And to think back that I was breaking down because I didn't understand red and blue made purple. You know? Or, you know, red and green's gonna make brown. That was
Right.
my first day. It was just overwhelming. But then I let myself have like that weak moment and then was like, I gotta get this. Like, quitting now is gonna be way worse than if I were just to keep going. And I'm so glad that I did, because I felt like it was too hard, but it wasn't. And you just learn. It's just, this is a job. You just learn the skill over time. I really believe anybody can physically do hair. It's just, you learn it. It's just training. But it takes a special type of person and personality and drive to be able to be a great hairdresser. And then it takes even more to be a great business owner and then continue to do this for a long time, because it's taxing.
Right, so that's something else I wanted to ask you as well, is like, I see a lot of salons out there where there's one person trying to run the whole show. In other words, it is the owner themselves that actually they cut hair as well. On top of it, they're trying to manage the business end. I think you can be successful if you're doing it with a small group of people, but when you add you know what I mean, 6, 8, 10 people to the equation, you need someone to almost like separate the business side, you know what I mean, away from, you know, the actual cutting side. It's like there's a reason why there's, you know, separation of church and state, is so those two powers can be equally managed. But, you know, doing it on a personal level, what do you find more complicated to do, is like to manage the business side of it, like, or to just simply doing the cutting side of it, like, you know what I mean, keeping with the idea of like progressing, you know, with the haircut, progressing with different ideas and color, and doing things like that creatively, like, satisfy you?
Well, I would say when I first started at the salon, I really was fixated on learning everything. Like, I knew that if I worked in a commission-based salon. The owner did not do hair, so he just got to run the salons, and then I worked with like 12 girls in a 10-chair
Did that
salon.
make things a lot easier in hindsight when you look back on it? Or was
I
it?
see pros and cons. Not my business, though. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, I could tell you good and bad of every situation, right? This is what I would do, this is what I wouldn't do, but until you're kind of in that situation,
Right.
you don't know, right? No, I thought the salon setup and the salon, like the company structure,
Right.
was really great. I think that there are every avenue in this industry has a purpose, and salons like the salon I worked for, you know, had an amazing purpose. I got to have a lot of practice of being really great behind the chair. I got to do trial tribulation. I was exposed to a lot of education classes. I got to learn how to build my clientele behind my chair. So when I first got in there, I knew that by already externing for them for 2 weeks, I had already done a 2-week working interview. Right. So I already kind of knew the girls I was going into. So I did that in April. I graduated in May, and I I took the Memorial Day weekend off, and then I started the next Tuesday, and I worked full time after I got out of beauty school. I literally did not even skip a beat. I was like, can I take Memorial Day weekend off to kind of like celebrate? I just graduated beauty school in 1 year and 10 days. Like,
You want to celebrate? You didn't want to work? I'm just kidding.
Right. I will take time off. I will. So yeah, I started working right away, and then I just really, like I said, I couldn't get enough. I really, more or less, looking back now, I needed something to fulfill my time and my energy. I needed something to fixate on, so that I didn't, because I was so paranoid that I was going to go back to that life and get in trouble again.
I see.
Because I had trusted myself one time and it had exploded worse, and so I just almost felt like I didn't trust myself, and work was the best thing.
I know what you mean, because like I don't get up at a particular time every day, It's just whenever I go to bed is when I go to bed. Whenever I wake up is when I wake up. And one of the first thoughts that I have like reoccurringly is, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go talk to a bunch of people. And that to me is the most fun.
Life.
It's the most fun, right?
I agree with you.
I think about if that was taken away from me, what I would be reduced to if I wasn't allowed to do that. And I think I know what would happen. I think I would get bored really easily.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the projects I want to do, like this, I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm not able to talk to anybody. So if you take me and you isolate me, and I think it might be the same for you, you might start getting back into some bad shit.
Well, I think I'm just the type of person that likes to be busy, you know. Even when I first started at the salon, I still was at Subway. And I worked there for 2.5 years together, full-time at both. I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to my store and open my store and prep my store from 5:30 until 9:30 or 10, and then go home, shower, change, and go work at my salon from 11 until 8, stop by my store at night and make sure that everything was cool to close, and then do the process all over again. And I would do that every single day.
Are you ever exhausted at the end of any day?
I look back on that time, and man, I was tired. Like, I was tired all the time, but again, I needed that. Like, I needed to almost exhaust myself because I worked, and like I said, I always lived on my own, so I still had bills, and you know, I was dealing with this court stuff even, you know, all through beauty school, even after beauty school. It, like, court catches up to you.
Right.
And that's what happened to me when I worked at the salon, and I got another really valuable life lesson, you know, that just because something happened years ago, it will still haunt you, you know, and, you know, it will affect you. And it got down to that, they wanted me to do a commitment.
Right.
Do a commitment for 24 hours as my punishment for what had happened and pay a fine. Well, you have to go in Thursday by 7. Well, I worked 11 to 8. And I work Friday. So how are you gonna work that? And they say by next week.
Right. It's a tough management.
Yeah. So I had to be vulnerable, I had to be real, I had to sit down with the owner of my salon and say, this is what happened. I made a mistake a couple years ago before I went to beauty school, and this is what I have to do. And that was really hard to be like, I know that I have to cancel appointments and that I could lose my job.
So what happened?
He told me, this happens again, you will lose your job.
Whoa.
And he did that for a reason. Because he said, you're a good kid, but don't let this continue to happen. You know, you're 19. Don't let this continue to happen. And you know what? I've never been in trouble again.
Dude,
I'm not kidding.
So I've been in trouble again. And
we've shared stories.
I'm in trouble again, and I still can't believe to this very day that this haunts me. I'll just say it again really quickly. Like, I said it yesterday, but I can't believe that, like, every time I go look for an apartment, I have to tell, like,
yeah,
I have to specifically request to talk to not just like the apartment manager, but like the person that runs like the whole show. Right. And just be like, listen, there's something I have to explain to you. When I was 21 years old, I stole a salami, and that's when they sort of instantly just like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I can't. There's a lot of places I can't live because of that.
Right. Over a salami. Over a dumb mistake. Right.
And it's like, I did that when I was 21. I'm 29 now, and it's still a thing. It's still a thing, and it's like I can only imagine, like, you know, like if I'm 35 or like I don't have a house, it's gonna just sound more ridiculous.
Right.
You know,
well, I think
like,
that,
oh
but
God,
you know
dude.
what? I think about that time, and I think about that.
Right.
He said no problem, and that was like a break. Like, oh my gosh, thank you. I got to keep my job, because when I went to try to get my life together, Subway kept my job. They kept my job for me because I told them, you know, I have a problem, I need to get help, and they said, go get the help that you need and your job will be here when you get back. And I came back and I worked really hard, and they promoted me, right, like to assistant manager right away. Like, you get this. And then it was, what stores do you want to work at? When do you want to train? When do you want to do scheduling? When do you want to? And I was like, okay. And it almost was like they knew I was going to beauty school, they knew that I was going to leave them, but they were doing everything that they could to try to get me to continue moving forward. So
that's very rare that someone looks out for your best interests, even though they know the end game.
Well, I think though, you know, I worked, you have to think, even after beauty school, I worked for them for 2 years. So they thought that I was gonna be the end game way sooner than I was. Like, I really have. I worked there 7 years. And
Subway?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
From 16 to 23.
Are you really dope at making sandwiches still?
I love making sandwiches. I tell my husband all the time, I would quit this job and go back to Subway in a heartbeat because it was so easy. But you know what I loved about it? Not the sandwiches. People. The people every day. I would love my employees. I would love saying hi to people. I would love making them a sandwich that's gonna be, you know, blah blah blah. Would you like chips, drinks, or a cookie with that? You know, I would repeat myself on repeat all day, but you know, I felt like making the sandwiches and prepping the stuff and helping people like with the food, as mindless as it was fulfilling.
All right,
and that's what helps me here.
All right, so going on with your Subway story, like you like being like liking helping people and stuff, and you said this earlier about being in a salon for 6 years and that you didn't like the salon culture at all. I'm almost kind of surprised in those two things in contrast.
Right.
So how is it that you end up in a box?
How did you end up in a box?
So how did you end up in a box after all that?
Well, you know, I went into my salon. I was really young. It was really weird. When I got out of beauty school and went into the salon, I didn't have that, like, I had that I don't care what you think or what you want or anything. I'm here to do my job personality, but still, like, that super soft, like open-minded that I was in beauty school. Like, I tried to now blend the two because I knew that if I was strong and move forward, that determination is going to keep me successful. But then if I was too brass, that's gonna be a turnoff, and that's part of, I think, learning how to control bluntness.
Right.
Growing up, and I have no self-control when it comes to that growing up, and now it's a lot better. But yeah, I went in there and I didn't care what those girls thought. They were great. Like, they were great people, but I think together as a group, there was a lot of clickiness. There was a lot of, I've been here for 25 years, I know more than you. There was a lot of stirring of the pot.
Where does the tension come from? Like, what are people trying
Competition.
Is that what it is? Is that what they're trying
confidence.
to prove, that they're better than each other?
Well, this is what I found out about the industry very quickly. Is when I worked for the commission-based salon, it was really great, but it was made very clear that it was the business's clients. They weren't mine. They belonged to the business. And so I would just
do you think that's the wrong way for them to handle it?
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
Like,
that's essentially what led me here.
Okay.
Because
like, I think that's what's leading everyone here.
Yeah, when you have ownership over people, or try to have ownership over people and their success and their drive, that creates tension.
Did you have to sign a clause that saying you couldn't operate within like a certain radius?
Yep, no compete, yep.
So did you
4 miles.
4 miles?
I'm at 4.2.
Do you think that if you would have went 3.9, they would have come after you? Really? What can they do with that?
Reputation and history had shown that, but I understand, you know, that business is trying to protect their business, and essentially the clientele and the money is their business. But I essentially left because you know, I got really sick when I was 23. Really sick, and I was doing chemotherapy, and
what? Like cancer sick?
Yeah, I was doing chemotherapy. They found a growth on the outside of my lung, and they weren't quite sure like where it came from or anything. So I was really, at that time in my life, I found out the week before Christmas, another anniversary of, I was 5 years, it was like 5 or 6 years, so I was really scared. You know, they tell you the week before Christmas, you gotta start taking this medication, this could get ugly, you know. What do you tell your family, you know, on Christmas? So I didn't tell them on Christmas.
By the way, I've been shocked in all, like, doing this,
Yeah.
how many like people I know like have sort of like a cancer situation or something almost very life-threatening that they find out at a doctor's appointment in their early 20s. It's more common than you would possibly
Right.
think.
Well, I think, I really, looking back now, I didn't take care of myself. We've been talking about, I worked every day. I worked 2 jobs. I barely slept. I would still maintain a social life, and I was that friend that would drive you. I didn't want to go out and drink and, get all messed up because I knew somebody had to drive, and
So
I had
you were
already...
Uber before Uber.
Well, no, I would like to go hang out with my friends and go hang out with them. I would go to the bar, maybe have one beer, or if we did go out and have a few drinks, we made sure that we had a ride home. We were never irresponsible because I knew I didn't know my limits, and that I had gotten in trouble before, that I wasn't going to trust my friends, my group of friends now, because who knows, So it was safer. Everybody was safer. And if I just drove, and I couldn't go out and drink and still get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I could go out until 1 and then get up at 4 or 5. Every once in a while. I mean, yesterday I did.
God, you're like my dad. My dad gets up.
My husband gets up really early and goes to work. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I wake up when he gets up. He gets up really early. So, and our
Gotcha.
little monsters get up too, our pipples.
Okay, so they get up early
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, they get up. But yeah, being in that salon culture and stuff like that, and finding out that I was sick, I didn't have medical care.
That's a big thing.
A big thing in the industry.
it's a
So,
big thing.
for years working there, I really pushed for, I was very involved with their marketing, helping create Facebook pages for the company, putting work on there or promotions. We were part of a promotional team. There would be one person from each salon. We would meet once a month and we would do salon promotions for the company and stuff. All the girls, not, the owner was definitely there every single time, but he wasn't heading all of this. A lot of the girls wanted to help with the function of this business because he didn't quite understand social media, which was great. And I, would approach him multiple times saying that, I feel like maybe we should look into how to really take care of the people that are here. Like, is there any option for benefits? Is there anything? And every single time there was no. And I got to a point once I got sick and I went through this treatment without any medical insurance. I met my now husband a month after I found out I was sick.
At the hospital.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I never really went to I never was
Right.
in a hospital for long periods of time. I got very lucky. I got very lucky to catch it very soon. I got very lucky to take medication. I switched my entire lifestyle.
What was it?
I ate raw. It was just kind of like a growth, as they explained it, a collection of cells. They think I tore the wall of my lungs somehow, and
Oh my God. You're out of the woods now.
yeah, no,
Right.
I'm totally, I
You're
don't
fine.
actually, I had 5 inhalers before. It was hard for me to breathe in the winter time and everything. I ended up
5
having,
inhalers?
Yeah.
Like 5 different chemicals?
on a regular basis, yeah.
So
but-
you need like a strap of like inhalers. You go, tss, tss,
Right.
tss.
So actually now I don't have one. I got a stem cell injection. Actually, I was part of some research,
Whoa.
some scientific research. We decided to pay for it out of pocket because it was a good shot. And I was a match, and it was, let's try this. And so they did, and luckily it worked, but I really fought taking all the medication. I started having a lot of complications, seizures, stuff like that. And I would question everything. I walked into that doctor's office, and still to this day, I have to go in like once a year to kind of do a checkup. But on the top of my file says hard, very hard patient.
And while this was going on, what year were you in cutting hair? How many years?
23, so 4 to 5.
4 to 5? Did you
5.
So
Yeah.
in this 4 to 5 area, did you feel that you kind of started to have things a little more down?
Oh, so in my salon I got promoted the first time within 2.5 years,
Nice.
which was
Not even.
pretty typical, which means you would just charge more. They had different design levels so you could move on up, and which
Right.
would mean that you would hit your commission brackets faster and you would essentially make some more money.
Right.
Which is the kind of the company structure, and you go up. So you would have room to move up in the company, not just feel like you're in there just rowing your own boat forever. So I got promoted the first time, was so excited. And then I got promoted 2 more times within 2 years, and I had to fight for them. Because it was based off your statistics, your numbers, your retention, your product sales, your how much is color, how much trying to build the perfect every time.
And why did you have to fight?
One time I had to fight for, it was my second promotion. It wasn't necessarily the one that I had to fight for because it was just 1 year after I had gotten promoted, but the second time after moving up again another bracket in less than a year, he was more reluctant on it because it was right before the holidays. It was in October, and he said, I don't think this is a good idea. Maybe you should wait until after the first of the year. And I said, absolutely not. I think this is a great time of year. I'm here, I'm ready, my numbers are here, and I want to be a master designer. I deserve this. I work hard, I'm here, and I disagree with you. I think that the holidays are a good time to raise your prices. People are more willing, and my clients will believe in my success. Believe me, they know it's coming. And I got promoted, and it was not a problem.
You have an insanely confident attitude. Like, where does this stem from? Where did this start coming from? I know what I'm capable of. I know that if I work hard, what I can produce. And I know in this beauty industry, you can't rely on anybody. And I think that started when I realized I didn't want my life to be over. Like, it was me and me only that could fix this. And it was me and me only that could make positivity and make a good life after this, after all of this. And I didn't feel like I had control because I gave up that control. Right.
Trying to control something in my life, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So then I now can control my life, and my life every day now is 10, 100, 1,000 times better than any day being out on the streets or getting in trouble, getting pulled over, always.
Were you homeless at any point?
No.
Okay.
I always worked. I always paid my bills.
You always worked. You weren't a piece of shit. All right.
I wouldn't say, some people are not as lucky. Some people just can't hold on to that, they're really willing to give up everything. I think that if I ended up homeless, that's more detrimental to me and my ego, I guess you could say.
Right.
And that's not okay with me. I don't accept that.
No,
I don't accept that.
I think that would be a worse rock bottom for you.
Right. And like I said, I got really lucky. But, being in the salon, I felt like I was always on the defense because of, me being successful, me building, me being in there. There would be, now I would say, to be fair, I was 19 years old walking into this salon. I'm sure I brought my fair share of drama too, because I did, because it was a huge thing, when I had to go do my commitment, and it was, conversations with my clients were a huge thing. I had to learn. I got in trouble many times for talking about inappropriate things or saying something that was inappropriate or being too loud or something.
What would you say that was inappropriate?
I have no idea. I can't tell you. Or just being a loud, I'm just a loud hairstylist, so I would always be constantly Laycee, shh. I'd be like, sorry.
You would get in salon noise complaints?
Well, yeah, they're trying to, a salon is trying to build you to be the best, and I'm a loud hairstylist, somebody else is not. You and your client could be yakking away about how great this weekend was and blah, 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 whilst then the person sitting next to you, 2 feet away from you, is really there to relax, and that's that type of client, that type of stylist clientele. Now you're hindering that person's client experience and essentially messing with their money, because if the client doesn't like that, they will not come back.
See, that's what I'm talking about though. It's the whole consciousness of the beauty industry is money. You know what I mean? If you took that away from it, and because I don't think anyone should have to compromise who they are in anything that they do.
I would never compromise, but I think learning how to control it, me being in my box now, I tell new clientele, I'm going to be very real on how I deal with you.
You give a disclaimer?
Yes. I come with a disclaimer now because I'm my own boss, and I tell people I am a hairdresser that drops the F-bomb every once in a while. But I'll also tell you if I think something's going to look like shit. no, you cannot have this silver gray hair because you're not going to spend the money on it, you're not going to spend the time, your hair is going to be melted, and it's unrealistic.
So
but
F-bomb, do you mean fugly?
right. Well, and I have no problem being somebody coming to me and be like, I want this and I want this, and I will tell them, no, I'm not doing this to your hair because it's going to melt it off, or I'm not doing this to your hair because it's a little bit unrealistic, out of your reach. You can't go from black box color to platinum blonde in an hour on a Saturday and call me Thursday.
Do people get mad at you?
Yes, but I would say I don't really have people that get mad at me anymore.
Okay.
I went through my first year or two in my studio when I left my salon. So when I met Josh, I was sick and everything and didn't tell him for a little while, and then ended up telling him, and then it was just like, we will get you better, and we really kind of together really researched raw foods and changed our lifestyle. That's when I started meal prepping.
Oh my God. Yeah, we'll show a picture of this. Your meal prepping is absolutely out of this world. It's not just like, there must be some Subway skill in it too. But
absolutely,
it's
that's where it
so
comes from.
efficient, like the way you have everything boxed out. It's actually like, dude, if you had your own Instagram page that was just like, you know, Laycee's prep work.
I thought about it.
You thought about
Mm-hmm.
it? It's pretty hilarious. Yeah. Like,
I get everything off Pinterest. I get my recipes off Pinterest, and I have been doing it for so many years that I can whip it out in a couple hours, like 2-3 hours, and
for a whole week.
I can do breakfast. Yeah, I can do breakfasts and lunch and snacks and stuff throughout the day, and I can prep meat for, I'm not home in the evening when Josh is, so he will cook chicken breast, eat a salad. He's really easy. So I'll just prep the meat and in Tupperware containers, freeze them, or pull 1 or 2 of them out in the beginning of the week, or I'll make, you know, salmon with asparagus and a lemon in like a little foil packet, and he pops that in the oven, and you know, happy husband, happy life.
I've never heard it that way around, but I think happy people, happy life.
Well, you know what? I don't, I love my husband. He spoils me to death. My life has gotten so much easier since he's been around, and I think that the least I could do for him would be make sure that he's well fed, because at the end of the day, he is the one that provides for us. This is my thing.
I remember you telling me this. You don't drive some like chick car, like a Jetta or something. You drive like a
2017 STI.
Yeah. You drive an actual badass fast car.
I love cars.
Yeah.
And football and beer. But I also love getting dressed up, and I love makeup, and I love, we just got married in September, and I felt like a princess. That was the first time in my life, and probably the only time that I was like, killing it, princess.
I saw those pictures, and I was just like, is this Laycee? Like,
it is, yeah. It was, but you know what? I will get all done up like that and love it. But also in the same time, too, we will pack up our RV that we have and go to the gorge and spend 5 days in 100 degrees listening to country music and sweating our butts off.
And no showers, just...
We have an RV, so yeah. So, that's just kind of what we like to do. And so then when I was, being with Josh, he really was like, let's talk about the situation you're in your salon. Because I would always come home like, oh my God, this person said this, and this person did this, and I can't stand, it was the cattiness, I think, of the group. I loved them all individually, but somehow all together in that salon like environment with the ownership over the clients and the competition, and it was not for me. It's for some people really love it, but it just wasn't quite for me. But I didn't know that there was anything else out there.
Right.
Because I felt safe.
Let me describe the situation to you. We live in like the Seattle Lynnwood area,
right?
Which is different from like really the rest of the United States. So let's take it to concentrated cities. So for example, like Chicago, Houston, Austin, New York City. So a lot of these like no competition clauses, yours was 4 miles, right?
Mine was 4 miles, yeah.
Some can go even bigger. Right?
Yeah, 5, 10, 15, 20.
Yeah, they can get bigger.
Or no compete.
In general. So, but usually it's sort of like in between like about like 5 to like 15 is usually the average of like this no compete.
Right.
we live in an area that's sort of like spread out.
Right.
Right. So in other words, you being able to go from Mukilteo all the way down to Lynnwood
was enough distance to lose a lot of business.
It is, but it's still something that you can reconcile.
Right.
I have a couple clients.
Because my move was smart. My location I moved to is where it was. I was on the Mukilteo Speedway where it was really busy,
Right.
and I moved to near the Alderwood Mall.
Right.
Again, where it was really busy, so a common area.
And also, like Seattle, like from tech, has been developing quite a bit. Amazon. I mean, Amazon. For those that don't know, we have Amazon, we have Boeing, we have Microsoft, Starbucks, just all this crazy shit that comes out here. And what I'm saying is, like, I have like a couple friends, in various places. But let's take a city like Houston, for example. A 4-mile non-compete in Houston, because all the salons are so centralized, basically means you're getting kicked out of the industry, or a huge chunk of the industry.
Right.
And starting over again, it's very hard. It's almost nearly impossible. So a lot of like people that are getting into the industry, they don't have that type of confidence to be able to pull the trigger, which is why you see so many people still slaves.
But that's the funny thing, I didn't move to my studio because I wanted something different. I was fine working. It was my husband that was like, let's break down some numbers. How much money do you bring into this salon every single month? And it was almost $10,000. But my paychecks were $1,100, $1,300. No matter how much
per month?
Per paycheck, so every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So no matter how much money I brought in, I learned with the commission scale and bracket, the more money you charged, the faster you would get to those commission brackets. But once you hit that commission bracket, it wasn't necessarily you get the whole percentage that they were telling you of that portion.
Right.
You were getting money taken out for product charges, stuff like that, which is common in a salon. And then and then what was left was your commissionable amount, but then you're getting taxed on it and everything, and then what you end up having is like 25 to 30% when you think you're making 60, 70.
Right.
So what was happening is I was working my booty off, making the company more and more money, and realizing that no matter how hard I worked, no matter how much business I built, or how much I double and triple booked myself,
you're not making shit.
I was still barely being able to make my rent, and rent here is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I had to essentially, I was comfortable where I was at. I didn't necessarily, there were pros and cons. It was safe. I didn't want to change it because I was afraid if I changed it, I couldn't afford living on my own, and because I had so deep-seated myself into myself.
Do you think you could have pulled the trigger without your husband?
No. I think it would have gotten to the point where, essentially when I left there, the day before I packed my stuff up, it was a Friday,
So walk me through the process of how you quit, and then how you moved into your how you found a salon suite and moved into it.
So I actually found a salon suite because the owner of that company contacted me. She said, I want to tell you about an opportunity that I have, blah, blah, blah. There are some girls that work inside here that you used to once work with. And they keep telling me that you're quite amazing and that you need to be here. So I would like to give you this opportunity. And she called me in February.
Right.
Then she called me in March, and she called me in April, and she called me in May.
So this is how they do their marketing.
Some.
In essence.
Some. It's not like that for everyone.
Right.
But I knew 6, 7 girls in there.
Right.
Already. And then, talking with Josh and everything, and mind you, I was sick during that year, so that's why I really wasn't interested in moving, because I was like, you know what, I'm sick, I got these medical bills to pay, I'm not leaving this income because I got an apartment. I knew that if I couldn't pay for my apartment, or pay for my car, or pay for all my stuff, I wouldn't have somewhere to be sick in, or like have anywhere to go to.
Right.
And I also had a dog at that time too. Like, I got a dog at 21. Somebody just dropped him off on my doorstep. And so at 21 I was like, so yeah, you want a dog? No, not really, but all right. So, and
you took the dog.
Yeah, what are you gonna, no, I didn't want to take the dog, but then at the same time, he was mangled and he had sores all over him. You could tell he was like malnourished. He came with a chain around his neck.
Was this the owner?
So cute. No, this is somebody that I knew.
Oh my God.
And I think what happened is they went to go get the dog and brought it home, and parents were like, no way.
Yeah,
so then
right.
like, where are we gonna take this dog? Oh, Laycee lives on her own. Like, she won't say no, you know. And so then I tried to find the dog a home for a week, and then took it to the vet, and it was almost $1,000. $1,000 I had saved a long time for at that time to treat his wounds and stuff, and they had told me he was being used as a bait dog.
Wow.
So, and he's a pit bull, so I fell in love. And so I kept him.
Nice.
And then we trained him, and we trained him, and he's a service animal. And then when I got sick, he helped me.
He's like a super dog now.
Yeah. And then I'm sure you saw a couple years ago, he hurt his leg,
Yes.
and on Christmas, and we pretty much replaced his whole leg, so he could run and walk again. So, and he's still here.
You were very good at taking broken situations and really amending them, dude.
Well, trying to make, I mean, a dog blows out his ACL, what are you going to do for him? You know, he's like, poor dog.
I
like,
know it seems like, what's it like, I know how it seems in your head, but like, dude, people, like...
Most people get rid of their dogs because of that.
Can't do it,
Yeah.
like...
Financially.
Right.
Financially, the surgery, he had 2 surgeries. So, financially, if I wasn't in my salon, my studio, my first studio, and owned my own business, that dog would not have had the surgery.
Right.
If Josh hadn't pushed me to, you know, be my own business owner, and
Okay, so you eventually quit the split end.
yeah, so what happened was she called me over and over and over, and I was like, not interested, thank you, I like where I'm at, and then it was June. 4 or 5 months she'd been calling me, and then I was like, Josh was like, let's go talk to her. Just go talk to her. Like, there's nothing that's gonna be wrong.
So you're still reluctant, you go talk to her, and then how do you pull the trigger now?
She tells me, you know, your rent's a couple $100 a week, you'll be your own boss. How long does it take you? How many services do you have to do to make a couple $100? And I'm thinking, 1. She goes, well, that's it. That's all you have to do then. Work 1 service, you pay your rent, and the rest of the money is yours. Now I'm gonna tell you something. Somebody that has once dealt with a lot of money and everything, you say that, oh, 1 service for the whole week and that pays for your space and the rest of the money is yours, I didn't listen to anything else.
Oh, okay, so...
Because I had realized how hard I had just been working.
So then, is that exactly what happened? Like,
We left, we talked about it, you know. To me, she made it seem like it was so easy.
Right.
Like, you just come in here, the clients pay you, you go to the beauty supply, get the color that you need every couple of days or whatever, and you book your own appointments, you're your own boss, make your own schedule, you can charge whatever you want, and your income is gonna quadruple, is what she told me. Which it did, essentially, because I worked more. You know, I worked more, but did I essentially get more, or did I just get what now I had always worked hard for? You know?
Right, I see what you're saying.
And was it easy? Hell no. This is not easy. Anybody that tells you you can come into a small room and now you're the receptionist, you open the salon, you close the salon, you're the banker, you fulfill your back bar,
Right.
you save for your taxes, which nobody tells you about.
Yes, yeah.
Your
You definitely do
licensing that costs you hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single year. Sales tax when you sell retail. B&O tax, which is 1.5% of your revenue for Washington State. If you make over a certain amount. So that's a lot of stuff that you, right there, that's,
Right, because
if
you're
she would
becoming a
have
legit
told me
business now.
everything. If I didn't manage a Subway before, I would not understand what I was doing here.
Dude, I love
money-wise, right?
I love your passion for Subway.
I do.
I've never heard anyone speak like in a way where it just wraps up and sums up their entire life.
Well, you know, you learn a lot. You learn a lot from, you know, think about that. That is a minimum wage paying job, but you can get a lot of life skill out of a minimum wage paying job if you try.
Okay, my experience was bagging groceries, and but what I walked away with compared to what you did, completely different experience. That's why I'm so blown away, is because I'm thinking about my own first minimum wage job.
But it wasn't like that in the beginning. Like I was an employee. I just worked a schedule. I had a manager. I loved her. She's still a very good friend of mine to this day, and she's the one that really looked out for me. But I'm gonna tell you, to get that job, I went in there every single day for a year when I was 15.
Oh my God!
Because my high school was.
So Subway was a part of your life. You would get out of school and you would go to Subway.
Well, Snohomish High School is like right there on the corner on Avenue D, and you go up a block or two, and Subway's right there on the corner. So of course, I would never really want to go to school, but I would hang out in the Jack in the Box parking lot right next door.
Right.
But I would go over there, and I would see her, and I'd be like, "Oh, are you hiring?" And she's like, "You're not 16. I can't hire you until you're 16. Come back when you're 16." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So then I'd come up, like, "Is there anything I like? Can I have a job?" I was so eager to like get a job that I wanted. Can I work for you? Can I work for you? And then she was, "Are you 16?" I said, "Yeah, I turned 16 like last week." And she's like, "Here, fill out an application." Damn. And she hired me because I would not leave her alone.
Wow.
Because I was like, I want a job. I need a job. Like, I need to figure out when I turned 16, I needed a job. Because I was moving out. I was going to live on my own. Like, how are you gonna function in society if you can't pay your bills? I always have had that in you. Pay your own bills, so yeah, it was really, I worked there, and then when I left there and when I left my old salon, it was really hard, the day before I quit, the reason let me back up. So I had gone in June and saw her, and then I was like, oh, okay, so then I called her a couple weeks later and said, I think this is something I think I'm interested in doing and everything, so let me know, like, what we can work out. And then she told me I don't have any rooms available for you. So then I kind of was like,
oh,
well, crap. So then she goes, but we might have one becoming available because people shift and move rooms often based on having babies or their schedule changes or somebody moves or, same things that happen in everyday salon happen in these studios too. Or people will be like, I only want to work 2 days. So can I rent from you 2 days and then shut down?
Right.
So it works out. So that's what happened. People kind of shifted and moved and filled days that were part-time, and she called me in the beginning of September, and told me, I have a room available for you.
Interesting.
When do you want to come? And then I was like stuck between a rock and a hard spot because I just planned this surprise trip to Disneyland for my boyfriend. Then I still needed to kind of work because I had the vacation time already off, and it's towards the end of September, so I said, can I come kind of maybe the first week of October?
Right.
And absolutely, no problem. We'll work with you, whatever you need. So I felt like really good about it. I felt like, oh my gosh, things are looking up. And then I wasn't really thinking about actually quitting. And I chickened out 5 days in a row.
Oh. So then what happened the 6th day?
So we went to Disneyland, at Disneyland, we decided this is for sure what we want to do. We are going to move the salon. I was really taking a risk because at that time we were just boyfriend and girlfriend. It was one of the first years we were together, so it was really like, oh God, I hope this works out. So
it was like Splash Mountain, then sit at hotel and talk.
We actually, that was the only ride we didn't go on.
You didn't go on Splash Mountain?
That was the only one.
You fucked up.
Well, we'll make up for it this Christmas. So then I was like, okay, when I go to work on Tuesday, I will tell my manager that Saturday is my last day. And somebody announced that they were quitting that day. One of the senior stylists.
So you didn't.
So then I was like, ooh, maybe not a good day to say that Saturday's gonna be my last day. She just gave her 2 weeks. Tomorrow.
Right.
Like tomorrow's gonna make it any better. Well, then the next day, a girl doesn't show up for work. Mm-hmm. So, panic sets into the salon. What are we gonna do with our clients? Blah, blah, blah. Then by the end of the day, comes out she's pregnant.
Oh my God. So
then I was like, probably not a good day. tomorrow. So then I went, and then the next day, kind of things hit the fan, and two stylists got into like a screaming match, and I could hear them in like the back room.
Wow.
And so I was like, also probably not a good day. This is a rough week for the salon, you know?
Yeah.
Then it came, so I guess it was 4 days. And then Friday came, and I was like, today's the day. Like today, I'll tell them today. Like I have to. Saturday has to be my last day because I've already paid for my new salon, and Tuesday is supposed to be my first day.
Right.
So I was running out of days, and every day I'd go home. Did you say something? No. Come on. Did you say something? No. Come on. You know. And I was like, okay, I got this. And then there were 3 of us in the back room, and one of them was like, be my pregnant partner, and I was like, no thanks. Be my pregnant partner. Nope. No thanks. Not for me. You know, because that's what girls like to do. They like to be pregnant together and stuff, and she was making jokes about it and stuff, and she wasn't serious or anything, but she was like, be my pregnant partner. I was like, no thanks. Like, you and your husband could totally start a family, and I'm with my boyfriend, and then the stylist that had the most senior stylist, the most years goes, Laycee, are you stupid? She's trying to tell you she's pregnant. And I stopped right then and there and looked at her and said, well, congratulations. And I got up and I walked out of the break room and I went and found my manager. Asked her to talk to her in the wax room where it was private, and she's like, yeah, absolutely. I shut the door and broke down. I'd never cried like that ever in my life.
Why did you break down?
I was done. Done. I had reached my limit, and I told her, tomorrow's my last day. Do not say a word to anyone. I'm gonna pack up my stuff. I'm gonna be done here because I'm not dealing with the crap anymore. It literally went from, oh, nice, you know, oh, it's okay, to instant cross the line. I'm not messing with you anymore.
Right.
Even though she was the stylist that announced she was leaving.
So volatile.
Yes, and that's the way it was all the time. And it was bullying. That's what it was, and I just never backed down. I was like, I don't care what you think. I'm building my own clientele. My numbers speak. I'm sorry that I'm busy all the time and you're doing towels all day.
So you came back home, you told Josh.
I quit. Tomorrow's my last day. He goes, oh, good. You want to go out to dinner?
Nice.
Sure.
And you guys went to Red Lobster.
Probably the casino.
Casino?
Yeah. That's our favorite place.
It's the best place to eat.
Yeah, so then that was the Saturday. Sunday, I had a meltdown. Another emotional meltdown. For the first time in my life, I did not have a job.
Oh, that's right. Shit, dude. So.
And it was really hard. And then I kind of like literally lost it for a minute and was like, oh, this is not good. I just quit my job. Oh man. I put icing on the cake. The owner was out of the country on a family vacation. Great.
So did you even have keys to your room?
No, the owner of the old salon.
Oh.
So this happened on Friday. I left Saturday, I just packed up my stuff, and that Saturday I didn't say anything to anybody, worked, I was just super nice, and then at the end of the day, I'm like cleaning my mirror down and pull bags out and start putting my stuff in bags. They're like, what are you doing, Laycee? I said, oh, today's my last day. I told LaDawn yesterday, I'm out of here. What? Yeah, sorry. They're like, what's your plan? I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and be happy. That's my plan. I'm not going to do this crap anymore.
So this is Friday, right?
That was Friday. Saturday.
And so Saturday, was that your first day of actually being in there?
No, Saturday was my last day at the salon. Okay. And then Sunday, Monday, I took off and then put all my stuff in my new studio, and Tuesday was my first day.
So that Sunday and Monday were the 2 last days you didn't work.
Yep.
For like, I don't even know how many years.
Yeah,
like,
ever.
Right? Like forever.
Ever. First time ever I didn't have a job.
So what was the first appointment like? Like, because I'm sure you didn't have maybe you did, I don't know. Did you have everything set up?
So I was a little smart with it. I created a Facebook page.
Okay, you went through all. Yeah.
I had a profile page, but I created a separate page and I named it Laycee's Hair Portfolio. And I started taking pictures of my work before and after and incorporating like salon, and this was a year before I actually left, and I started putting stuff on there, and I was like, hey, you should follow my hair page. Like I'm gonna post like all the before and afters and super awesome things. That started like a buzz in the salon. Like everybody started taking before and afters. Now if you go to that company, everyone does it, which is good. They need to. Everybody needs to start taking before and afters of their
Right.
of their work.
Right.
So because I did that for a year and had like 300 and something people that had liked my page and had shared my page, and I got that interaction with them, I changed my name of my hair portfolio page to my business name, Amore Hair Design, and overnight, and reached 300 people.
Wow. So you essentially just built a whole clientele like overnight. Like, so
It took about a year.
About a year's, but
On my Facebook page, like to get them to follow me and stuff. And then what I really started doing is incorporating my life. I read a book about marketing and stuff. It was like a small book, and they talked about social media and engagement with people, and that people are so fixated on that social media, on that scrolling and stuff like that. It's very visual that, yeah, oh, Laycee's a great hairdresser, but oh my gosh, look at this rainbow hair Laycee did. She's amazing. It's totally different, because of that visual. So that's what I started getting people engaged. And I said, find me on Facebook, like find my hair page, which essentially added them as my friend. And then I started sharing my life. I started sharing pictures of my dog, of the cool things that we were doing, and everything. And over a matter of a couple of months, I went from just like 200 or 300 Facebook friends to 900, and all these people following my now hair page.
Right.
So when I essentially left, I changed my hair portfolio page to Amore Hair Design. I changed my address, and my phone number was already on there.
Right.
And
were you surprised or shocked at all, or is this exactly like according to plan in your mind?
I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was just going for it. In my mind, it's gonna work. But also with Josh, like Josh was a big part of that, really, and that's really when I started to form who I was becoming. Not even like once I was in beauty school, I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It wasn't until I started in my studio and started building that page, a year prior to opening my studio, building that page and starting engaging with people, that's when I really felt like my clientele really got locked in and solid. It's because they were interested in me as a human, not just, oh, she does hair.
Right, so at that point, did you feel like, almost like this huge war was like kind of over?
Never.
Never?
No, I'm not. It's not a war. It's not a war. That's the problem, is that it shouldn't be a war.
But there's so much industry war. It's ridiculous.
That's what's poison here in
Yeah.
the industry, and that's what really causes people. Statistically, hairdressers drop off at 7 years almost every time.
Yes.
Statistically,
it's very common.
Very. And when I moved into my salon, it was just before 7 years. Into my new studio, it was just before 7 years. So that's hard. That's really hard because I didn't want to work there. I didn't know if I didn't want to do hair because I didn't really love it.
Right.
Because I don't really love doing hair. Essentially, I don't. I think haircuts and color and stuff, it's creative but it's my job.
Right.
My passion in this industry is the people. The people that I see, which would essentially make sense because the people, my customers would be who I enjoyed the most when I worked at Subway. So I, and I loved my clientele at the salon, but I didn't necessarily I didn't like the environment. That's just basically what it came down to. There was nothing wrong with it, I guess, but it wasn't what I needed. It wasn't fulfilling me. So then I left.
Okay, being a people person, talking to another people person, I've said this a long time ago, and I'm probably the strongest people person that I know, because I have a whole faith and idea that sounds silly to someone who isn't, but basically it's just, I think people have the answers. And so that's why I love being around people so much, is because there's no way that I could collectively live in this lifetime to understand everything that I want.
Absolutely.
But being around other people, it's like I get to inherit their lives.
I would say the reason I feel like my life is so fulfilled and I am here right now is because of the people that come in here and see me. The person I am today is, one, because of what I've gone through when I was younger. but mainly a big part of what I've gone through in this industry with the businesses, but the people that I have and that have supported me, I still have my very first client. She's my most favorite of them all because she came in on my second day of the salon.
Yeah.
From Atlanta, had seen her hairdresser for 25 years. She gave me the color, can you match it?
You matched it.
I was scared shitless. I ran to the back and I started crying. It's my second day in the salon. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. The state gave me a license, but I don't know what I'm doing. But I got it together. They helped me. They helped me formulate. They helped me really get it together. And they were like, you got this. Then I went back out there and she looked at me. She goes, how long have you been doing this?
Oh shit. Like,
and I go, today's the second day. Like, I wasn't gonna lie.
Right.
I was told to always tell people, you've been doing it at least a year, even if you've been doing it a day, because if you tell them, oh, it's my first day, you instantly lose trust and confidence. Instantaneous. But that's not me.
But you had two times more of the experience. You had 2 days.
Yeah, I didn't have a client my first day. I sat around.
Oh my god, so this is actually your first client.
The very first client, yeah.
Fuck, dude.
And she goes, do you know what you're doing? I said, yeah. Yeah, I know. She was like, okay. I see her every 4 weeks.
Wow.
And she has never missed an appointment.
Dude, fuck yeah. That is
and
awesome.
the reason, she's a teacher, and she knew right away. She goes, I knew that you were brand new. She goes, but I challenged you because I wanted to see. She goes, to me it's just hair. She goes, if you messed up my color, I don't care. She goes, Laycee, I really don't ever care. I was like, okay. She goes, I just wanted to see if you had that confidence. She goes, I watched your face change from the time that I gave you the color to when you came back. I challenged you and then it came back. It's confidence. That's what it was. Like, I knew what I was doing. I passed the state test. I knew. It's just I was being challenged for a second in a moment of like weakness, like this is a new color line, maybe you don't know. The tones are different. So now you start to doubt yourself. And then I went in the back and they're like, no, it's easy. You can formulate color. You know how to mix. You can create this. And then I was like, oh yeah, I can.
You know, if I had to be like a armchair therapist right now and like just overlook your entire life as I've heard it right now, you two are very, like, whether that was incidental or not, the theme of your life is you have a lot of people that challenge you.
Absolutely.
You have a lot of
It's funny, my husband and I, you know, being in this salon is very new. Being in my studio here is very new in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Because of a very challenging situation, and it was challenging for 3 years. I was constantly challenged there in my old studio, but I also never backed down. And essentially, that's what led me here.
When you still run into challenging situations, do you still get that feeling of like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, because it's the same feeling again of like, this is something I'm not familiar with, I'm not really sure what to do, like, or are you pretty adapted to it now?
I would say, thank goodness for my husband to teach me how the one thing he has taught me being in my salon, he owns a duplex, and so we have a rental, so
right.
We rent out one side, we live in the other. So he understands contracts very well, he's incredibly intelligent with money and business and the stock market and stuff like that. You know, for never going to college, for graduating high school and going to work at Boeing and being there for 10 years, he's incredibly intelligent. He knows what he's doing. If he's never owned a salon, doesn't matter. The generalization of business and what is right and wrong and how to progress, spot on almost every single time. Where we run into challenges is incorporating what he thinks is going to work with business and what I know will work in the industry. That's kind of where we have in our relationship had to learn that this is mine. This is, at the end of the day, this is my business.
Right.
I'm going to make the best decisions that's right for this business, because at the end of the day, who's the one that has to suffer?
That's true.
Me.
Right.
Because it's mine. And he's so great of being like, this is your business, you make the decisions. This is yours, not being like, oh, I know. You know, he'll offer his advice, And then even, you know, like I didn't quite understand taxes when I first started this. And he said, seek out a tax person. And I'm like, the lady I think is doing my taxes, you know, she's like really quite up there, and I don't think she really is paying attention or doesn't know and everything. I don't go seek a different tax person. Did I do it? No. No, I didn't, just because I was like, oh yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Right.
I ended up finding a new tax person that told me about what B&O taxes were.
Right.
What the percentage was, what retail sales and retail, you know, sales tax and everything, and how to separate it and stuff like that. What a profit and loss statement is, how to do inventory in retail. I didn't know anything. And I had worked 1 year and 3 months before meeting her into my 3 years of being in my old place. So I felt very like, oh man,
yeah.
I made a mistake
It's
the last like
shit.
15 months and the IRS is gonna get me. No, you learn, like, did I owe the IRS because I didn't set aside enough for like those taxes? You don't really know what you're doing the first year, so you just kind of pay into it, and then you figure it out after that, and then the next year you'll pay into it what you paid into it to match this year, and you know what I mean? It's just a balancing with business, it's balancing act and learning. I've never gotten intimidated by that. I just wish that there was an opportunity between salon life and business ownership to learn about how to manage everything else behind the chair, or besides being behind the chair. Because I got this 12 hours a day behind my chair. I can do this and do it all day long. But taxes, banking, my phone constantly blowing up, booking appointments
Right.
and everything, that now becomes overwhelming. And that's what gets scary. Because you still have to run a business, but you physically have to be pulled here. So that balance is what I feared. To figure out that balance and what I could do. And every day, I'm not going to tell you that I'm perfect. I'm not going to tell you that I know everything, because I sure don't. But I'm learning, and I'm open-minded. And I can say, oh, okay, why I need to double my estimated tax payments this year, or I need to save this much money, or this is what I can project, or I should start to project what the next year is going to look like before I even am done with this year. So it just kind of is changing, you know. I'm never fearful of that.
And you know what? I almost think I've talked about this a couple of years ago, like because I thought about situations like these. I mean, there's nothing stopping me. Fuck, there's nothing stopping anyone. I think that's a huge niche that needs to get filled.
Right.
Is people getting transitioned easily, so that, like, for example, when you were told in the beginning, hey, you can just work one client and have like everything paid for, so that you can sort of relax into that, and at the same time set aside a little extra so that you can help this person. You can choose whether you want to have them there forever or not, but they can help you at least ease into it,
Right.
so that you're not losing all of your marbles at once, and then you
That's
give
what
up,
happened.
and then you give up on your 7.
That's almost what happened to me. And I was being challenged at the same time.
You're always being challenged, dude.
Well, challenged in the sense of when I went into my old studio, I was placed in the only room that was open, and it was the biggest double salon that they'd had. So
Which is that with the one I've been in, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest rooms in the entire place, which warrants the most money and stuff like that. So at the time, she told me, you just pay for your chair, your half of the room, and I'll take care of whoever else is in there. So I signed my contract for half, and was paying.
Mm-hmm.
Never missed a payment, no nothing. I went through 6 girls in a matter of 2 years.
I think I've met all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've met every single one of them.
Besides the girls I just had this whole year before coming here, yeah, no.
And they all quit. It seems like
Some
right.
of them, but you know, that's where I started to get challenged. Is that you know, I moved in October. By February, I asked, can I remodel the room? Can I get new furniture? Can I do everything?
Right.
Absolutely. It's whatever you want to do. Just make sure that, you know, whoever you're sharing the room with is okay with you. Do it together. And I was like, okay. And at the time, the girl that I was sharing my room with, she didn't care. She was like, oh, cool. I think this is awesome. So she helped me build the stuff. She helped me paint. She helped me do everything. It was the only thing she really helped out with.
Right.
And come to find out, she wasn't paying her rent.
Oh.
For weeks at a time, multiple times in a row. And then essentially got the boot. I found out. And then it ended up there was she was doing illegal activity and stuff like that, and I pretty much was like, this is not going to be in my room. I'm not going to work with this. And then it slipped that, hasn't paid her rent, and then I got really mad. Like, I'm required to pay for half of this, and I just remodeled this whole room, and there's somebody in there that doesn't pay weeks on end.
Right.
And they're still here. So they got the boot, somebody else got placed in. Okay, cool, half. They're in there for a little while, it slips, not half. It's $100 a week less than what I am paying.
Right.
For 1 day less working. So then I go back and I'm like, what kind of crap is this? I was under the understanding that it would be half.
You know, looking
50-50.
Looking back on all this now, are you happy that you ended up in this situation?
Absolutely.
And you were pushed here?
Absolutely.
Because, like, you could have been at the split end. She could have not got pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, you could have not quit.
Yeah, I could have just stayed.
You could have stayed. Like, things, who knows? Maybe the salon, maybe you could have fallen in love with the salon culture and you would have been complacent there.
Right.
But
I would have stayed. I'm telling you right now, I would have stayed if there were just a few minor adjustments. I would have given up the income, and that's the thing is, somebody's willing to give up the money for like somewhat of a good environment and just a place to learn and just like an environment and you know, when that's lacking or whatever, but that wasn't, it's not my business. I don't get to control that environment. I don't get to tell
so I guess
the
what I'm saying is,
environment.
like, if everything was set up in a way that you liked it at a salon,
Yeah, I probably would have stayed.
would you ever, well, here's the thing now, would you ever go back?
To salon life?
Yeah.
Not unless I owned one.
That's what I mean, is like, because I feel like you've gone down a path now where you can't go backwards.
Right.
So it's like, now you have this. It's almost like the beginning of having your own salon, except you're your own person.
Well, I did. You know, I had girls that rented for me.
You dealt with people that did miscellaneous activities or whatever or not, but...
Well, what I was learning is that the business practices were unfair because I felt like, because Laycee works 12 hours a day and, you know, I was constantly, you know, when people were being shown like the rooms and stuff like that, and you know, I would hear, Laycee, you know, she's been in the industry forever and she's doing all this great things. She works all the time. She needs a day off and all this stuff. I look back on that, and that's all to build somebody else's brand.
Right.
I was seeked out to build somebody else's brand, and when I kept like, no, I was under the understanding 50-50, like, am I missing something? Am I missing that you said 50-50 and somehow these people that are being placed are not, I'm paying way more? Like, I felt like I was constantly missing something because at the end of the day, that's wrong.
Right.
And so then so a couple girls were placed in my room. One of them went and got her own room, and then one of them ended up last year. She ended up packing up her stuff and leaving. She ended up having a family medical emergency and stuff like that. And she couldn't work 2 jobs, and I totally understand. And it was 4th of July. I came back and she was totally gone. She just told me it had happened and everything, and was like, yeah, I think that I can't really be in Lynnwood. And I'm like, I'm really gonna miss working with you, because it was like working, like she was paying half, we really were getting along, and everything, it was kosher. And then, you know, life happens.
Sure.
And then overnight my rent doubled.
Yeah, which is a tough pill to swallow. Because
I was just told, we've just decided you're taking over the ownership of this room.
Right.
If you don't want to do that, you can leave or you can go to a different room. But no matter what situation I was in there, I was going to have to pay them more, whether I stayed or went to my own room. And that was a huge red flag to me. So I fought them, because I knew, as landlords ourselves, we can't just double somebody's rent and just not tell them.
Right.
There has to be proper paperwork in place. Like, sure, if you want to double my rent, you can do that, but you have to give a 30-day notice, blah, blah, blah. So they gave me free rent and then a 30-day notice. Your rent's doubling. And so push comes to shove, she wanted my room. And I wasn't backing down. And I said, no, I want to keep it. Okay. And they said, you have 30 days to fill the chair, you know, find somebody yourself, or you either pay for this or you go to a different room. So for 3 months, I didn't have anybody in my room.
I remember that time period too.
And it didn't really break my heart or anything. It was really sad that I was in this big room, like, and I had this chair, but I advertised and everything, and I brought somebody in and put her on a contract and everything, and then tried to fulfill with her what I was seeking. Try to help her understand business. Try to help her understand booking and get better with color and build clientele. And people would call me, and I instantly was not taking clients, that I would send them to her, and really, like, I was trying to help build her, to give her an opportunity to see if I had it in me to be able to grow more than just behind my chair. Because I knew something was wrong. I felt like I'm fighting and fighting and fighting, and at the end of the day, all of this is wrong.
Right.
And then she came in and everything, and then towards the end of it, it wasn't working for her. She just wasn't what she was seeking for in the industry, and that's 100% okay. It's not for everyone.
Right.
But I didn't want her to get into something so deep financially, one, and two, do something she didn't like doing. You know what I mean? Like, she goes, oh, I really like it, but it's just not 100% for me. And I was like, totally fine. She goes, I really just love doing men's hair. Cool, girl, do men's hair only. I promise it's not for everyone.
Let me ask you this in closing. Because now that, like, I've heard, you know, a lot of your story and a lot of your life and the support you have in it, if you were to take someone like yourself, right, and let's say Josh was absent for your life, but you were going through the same obstacles, what sort of advice would you give to yourself, you know what I mean, with someone who doesn't have, you know what I mean, like, a lot of people challenging them, but, like, they need to challenge themselves, but they don't know how to do it?
Well,
what's the advice that you would give them? Because there's so many people out there trying to make it, but they can see, it never seems like they can get ahead. So what advice would you give to them? Well,
that's what I was feeling. That's exactly what I was feeling in my last studio. And then, and then one day I was working, and they walked right in and handed me a piece of paper and said, get out. And I said, what is this over? And they said, we've just decided. So now 2 years in a row, they've just decided what they're going to do with my livelihood. And that's when I got really mad. And I got really upset. One, how unprofessional. And two, how can somebody just mess with the livelihood of somebody? I'm now in the same exact situation that I was in when I worked at my old salon, but I own my own business. So I knew that at the end of the day, that I wasn't backing down to them, and they didn't like that. And essentially, they just were like, see ya, okay. So it was mutual, very mutual. I made it clear that I did not want to stay forever, and I wasn't backing down to the things that were, the bad things that were happening. Not necessarily bad, but the wrong business practices. My advice, because of my experience there, I walked in here and instantly it was different. It was, we're here to help you grow. We are here to fulfill you in whatever way you would like. If you have aspirations of working just in a single room and you want to double, or you want to expand and learn new services, or you want to own one of these one day, you let us know. We will put you in the right direction because we want you to be successful. I instantly felt more at home and more comfortable and more at peace. So my advice would be to stay true to yourself and what's right. If you feel like something's wrong with a situation, it most likely is, and when you stand up to people that challenge you, it's because of one of two things. People challenge you because they're jealous of you, they're envious, they fear your success, or they want the control, and you're not somebody they can control. So, unfortunately, I left my big room, and I'm not really sad about it. I'm sad about not being with the two girls that I had, because we worked all together for a year, and it was amazing. I really loved them. I had no problem with that. But being here in my studio, no days working in that salon are any better than any day I've had here. And it's only a couple weeks because I get to go back to full time, because I changed my schedule to help those girls out. I let them pick the days and I worked around it and made sure that everything was fair and helped everybody. If you're in this mindset of ownership over clients, ownership over people, ownership over materialistic things, or ownership over your ego and the way that people view you, you won't really be successful in this.
I totally get it.
You have to be really open-minded.
It's like, number one, dude, just fight for your right to party. And number two,
know your limit.
Know your limit. But three, just be a nice person.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
Be kind.
Don't be a pushover, but be a nice person.
There's a fine line, and that's what I've had to learn in my career. Where do you be bold and blunt and no bullshit? And then where do you become very kind and fun and almost to the point where people like can't live without you? That's a hard line to draw in the sand sometimes.
Right.
With people, because every person's different. I could be brass with you and you and I could laugh it off, but if I am brass with, somebody that's a little bit more soft-spoken, they might cry. The outcome's going to be totally different,
I would actually kind of like to see that. I'd like to see you make someone cry.
No, I just think, it's about being a good person. Remember why you wake up every day. Remember where you came from, remember how you got here. And nobody works as hard as the person that's behind the chair. No one. A salon owner does not work harder than a stylist that's building that clientele behind the chair. And nobody's going to work harder than that business owner that is standing behind that chair. That's why I'm here all the time. And that's why I'm booked. Yeah. And if you look at my client base, I just had a huge wedding, and we had 250 people show up, and it was phenomenal. It was the best day, and we went around to every table. It took us about an hour. We went around to every table, and we said thank you. I thanked every person, and I gave every person a hug, because that's a lot of time away from your family. That's a lot of love. That's a lot of support, and don't be selfish. Don't be a dick. Realize that people care about you too, and that's what makes me give back. Is when we were going around to the tables, I realized I do everyone's hair. That's my connection with with all these people in my life, and all these people I'm willing to invite to my wedding and share such an amazing day with, because they're like my family. They are my friends. They're my best friends, and they're the people that make me who I am and support me and Josh in our lives. Do you think Joe Blow that comes in every 6 months to get, a haircut is supporting this amazing lifestyle? No, it's those men that come in every 4 weeks. It's those families that I do. That's those people that are like, no, I'm not letting anybody touch my hair other than you.
Yeah.
And we were talking about earlier, what happens if I got sick? Oh, well, what's on the table now is, when are you going to have a baby?
That's true. Babies do change everything.
Well, I get told all the time, it's okay, I'll just come over to your house.
Yeah.
I live almost 20 miles away from here, and it takes me an hour in the morning. Think about that.
That's
People
crazy.
don't care how far they have to go. They don't care how inconvenient. If they care about the person and they believe in the person, and that person gives back to them and believes in them and makes them feel good, they will stick with them. I don't have to worry about money. I don't ever have to worry about my books. I don't ever have to worry about my business or what we do in our lives. We live a fun life. We travel all the time. I work hard, but we get to do fun things too. And all of that at the end of the day is because I have people that come back here and support me and love me all the time. That's what makes me a good hairdresser. And that's what makes me kind.
You rule, and that's why you're fucking successful.
Thank you.
You're the fucking best. Work harder. Try harder.
Yeah. Don't ever give up.
And don't ever fucking give up.